This adventurous story begins by showing a vast kingdom where a warrior named the Black Scorpion King once lived. This warrior was the most powerful in the entire kingdom, and he protected the entire realm, including the king himself. Now, we are introduced to the current Black Scorpion of the kingdom, whose name was Asur. Asur was the leader of the king's army, commanding and protecting the kingdom. Asur had a son named Matthäus, who also wanted to become a Black Scorpion like his father. However, Asur knew that this path was extremely dangerous and could even cost his son's life. That is why Asur strictly forbade Matthäus from ever joining the Black Scorpion training. To become a Black Scorpion, one had to be selected first and undergo 6 years of intense training. Only after completing this training could someone earn the title. But Matthäus was not one to give up easily. Ignoring his father's warning, Matthäus secretly left the next day and reached the selection grounds, where many children had gathered to train and become Black Scorpions. There, a soldier named Sargon was giving instructions to all the candidates. Sargon announced that only 12 children would be chosen for the training, while the rest would perish. A fierce battle broke out among the children, with each one fighting for their place. Matthäus, too, was part of the battle. During the fight, he unexpectedly reunited with his friend Lena, who had entered the trials illegally. After a while, when Sargon and his men discovered that a girl was among the candidates, they immediately captured Lena and removed her from the competition. Their strict rules stated that only male candidates were allowed. As Sargon was escorting Lena out, Matthäus tried to attack him to save his friend. Seeing this, Sargon became furious and charged toward Matthäus to kill him. But at that very moment, the Black Scorpion himself, Matthäus' father, Asur, made his grand entrance. Even Sargon could do nothing in front of Asur. However, the king of the kingdom then stepped forward and addressed Asur, saying, "Your son Matthäus has made a mistake." Matthäus had to face the consequences of his mistake. The king declared that as punishment, Matthäus must undergo Black Scorpion King training. Asur was completely against this, but he could not defy the king's orders. Though unwilling, he had no choice but to send his son, Matthäus, to complete the rigorous training. The scene then shifts to Asur's home, where he was peacefully sleeping with his family. However, outside, a shadowy figure lurked. It was someone sent by Sargon. Soon, Sargon launched a surprise attack on Asur's house, releasing venomous scorpions onto his body. The scorpions crawled over Asur, biting him repeatedly and injecting their deadly poison. Within moments, Asur succumbed to the venom, dying in excruciating pain. Matthäus witnessed everything but was powerless to stop it. When he realized that Sargon was behind his father's assassination, he was utterly shocked. He swore that no matter what, he would avenge his father's death. But first, he needed to prepare himself. He had to become stronger. From the very next day, Matthäus began his Black Scorpion training, which would last for 6 grueling years. He dedicated himself completely to the training, never allowing himself to rest. As time passed, Matthäus grew older and stronger. After 6 years, the training was finally complete, and all the new Black Scorpions returned to their kingdom. The people welcomed them with great enthusiasm, knowing that these warriors would now protect their land. Matthäus reunited with his mother and younger brother, Noah. Noah informed him that after the king's death, Sargon had seized the throne and declared himself the new ruler. Shortly after, Sargon arrived to meet the newly trained Black Scorpions. The moment he saw Matthäus, he recognized him instantly. Without hesitation, he summoned Matthäus to his chambers, insisting on speaking with him privately. Although Matthäus despised Sargon, he had no choice but to obey his orders now that he was king. He proceeded to the royal palace, where he was met with a shocking sight. His brother, Noah, was being held captive by Sargon. Sargon spoke up, claiming that Noah had been spreading false rumors about him. According to Noah, Sargon was the one responsible for Asur's assassination and had unlawfully seized the throne. Now, as king, Sargon demanded Matthäus prove his loyalty by executing his own brother, Noah, for this alleged crime. This was a test of Matthäus' allegiance. He picked up his sword, but instead of striking Noah, he slashed through his chains, setting him free. Enraged, Sargon's soldiers rushed to attack them, but none of them were a match for Matthäus. With years of rigorous training behind him, he swiftly took down every soldier before standing face to face with Sargon. Matthäus raised his sharp spear and hurled it straight at Sargon. However, Sargon, using some unknown power, stopped the spear mid-air. Matthäus was stunned. He couldn't comprehend how Sargon had done this. But one thing became clear: he couldn't defeat Sargon with ordinary combat skills alone. Realizing they were in danger, Matthäus grabbed Noah and fled for safety. But Sargon picked up a bow and arrow, chanting mysterious incantations as he prepared to strike. When he released the arrow, it didn't fly in a straight path. Instead, it moved as if it were guided by some unseen force, relentlessly pursuing Matthäus and Noah no matter where they ran. Matthäus tried to escape with Noah on horseback, riding toward the edge of the kingdom. But the enchanted arrow finally struck Noah, piercing his body. Despite Matthäus' desperate attempts to save his brother, it was too late. Noah was gone. Heartbroken, Matthäus was overwhelmed with sorrow. First, he had lost his father, and now his brother had been taken from him as well. But this only fueled his resolve. He would have his revenge on Sargon, no matter what. Matthäus left the kingdom behind and made his way to a distant harbor. His next destination, Egypt. He had a plan. Years ago, his father, Assur, had once served a great Egyptian king. That king possessed an immensely powerful weapon, one that Matthäus now sought. He believed that with this weapon, he could gain the strength he needed to finally defeat Sargon once and for all. With his mind set on vengeance, Matthäus made all the necessary preparations for his journey. As Matthäus prepared to set sail for Egypt, he unexpectedly ran into Lena, his childhood friend. She insisted on accompanying him, pleading repeatedly until Matthäus finally agreed to take her along. Now aboard a boat, Lena asked Matthäus why he was going to Egypt. He explained everything, how he needed the legendary sword of King Osiris, believing that with its power, he could easily defeat Sargon. However, before he could say more, a man named Eri, who had been secretly listening to their conversation, interrupted. Eri revealed that the sword of Osiris could only be used against the enemies of Egypt. It would have no effect on Sargon. This revelation left Matthäus deep in thought. He turned to Eri and asked, "Then what weapon can I use to defeat Sargon?" Eri then spoke of a place called the underworld, where a powerful sword belonging to the god Jez was said to exist. However, the underworld was an extremely dangerous place, ruled by a fearsome queen named Asi. Matthäus, determined, assured Eri that he would help and protect him no matter what. It didn't matter how dangerous the journey was. He needed that sword at any cost. Impressed by Matthäus' confidence, Eri decided to guide them to the underworld. Together, Matthäus, Lena, and Eri ventured into the Forbidden Kingdom. But before they could go far, they were ambushed by the underworld soldiers. The trio fought fiercely, taking on multiple opponents at once, but the enemy numbers were overwhelming. Forced to retreat, they ran until they accidentally fell into a hidden underground bunker. To their horror, they realized they had landed in a prison. Dozens of people were locked up, held captive for an unknown reason. Matthäus immediately began questioning the prisoners. "Why have you all been imprisoned here?" he asked. One of them answered with a fearful voice, "This place is home to a terrifying creature. We are kept here as food for the beast." Matthäus was horrified. He clenched his fists and declared, "Tell me everything about this creature. I will fight it and set you all free." But instead of gratitude, the prisoners laughed at him. "You have no idea what you're saying," one of them scoffed. "That creature is too powerful. You don't stand a chance." Everyone in the prison believed that a boy like Matthäus could never defeat the creature. At that moment, they all saw him as just an overconfident child. But what they didn't know was that Matthäus was a black scorpion warrior, trained through years of grueling discipline. Since no one was willing to support him, Matthäus decided to take matters into his own hands. Along with Lena, he set off to face the creature. On the way, they encountered a man named Feng, who was trapped. Matthäus freed him, but Feng, overwhelmed by fear, ran away without a word. Moments later, from the other side of the cave, the monstrous creature emerged. It was unlike anything Matthäus had ever seen, a terrifying hybrid beast. Without hesitation, it lunged at Matthäus. Matthäus dodged and fought back with all his might, but the creature's strength was overwhelming. Just when it seemed like Matthäus was losing ground, Feng returned, this time with a group of allies. The sheer number of people distracted the creature, forcing it to attack multiple targets at once. This created the perfect opportunity for Matthäus. Seizing the moment, he rushed behind the creature and drove his sharp sword deep into its back. The powerful strike dealt a fatal blow, and the beast collapsed, lifeless. Witnessing Matthäus' victory, the prisoners were in awe. They finally recognized that he was no ordinary warrior. He was someone who could change their fate. Matthäus then invited them all to join him. "Let's go to the underworld," he declared. "We will grow stronger, and together, we will win our freedom once and for all." Inspired by his words, the captives rallied behind him. As they traveled, they soon reached a dead end. The path they had taken had mysteriously vanished. Panic spread among them as they struggled to figure out an escape. Just then, Eri noticed strange symbols inscribed on the ground. He carefully studied them, trying to decipher their meaning. And then, something miraculous happened. In an instant, everyone was transported to a high-altitude location, surrounded by a vast desert. Gigantic floating stones hovered around them, defying gravity as if enchanted by ancient magic. But now, another problem emerged. How would they get down from there? Matthew gathered his courage and cautiously placed his foot to the side. Suddenly, another stone appeared beneath his foot, supporting him. But as soon as he placed his other foot, he lost balance and fell. It was later revealed that the platform itself had descended to the ground. Seeing Matthew fall in such a way, everyone laughed and mocked him. Eventually, they all started descending onto the desert floor from the platform. Ari, who had knowledge of the cursed place, immediately set a 1-hour timer. He warned everyone that they had to return within an hour and find a way out, otherwise, they would all turn to stone and be trapped there forever. With determination, everyone set out to locate the exit. The desert was vast, and the scorching sun made the journey even more challenging. Suddenly, massive tentacles emerged from the ground. These tentacles were actually from thorny vines that quickly surrounded them, transforming the entire area into a dense forest in no time. For a moment, Matthew felt as if he had entered an imaginary world, but no matter what, they had to keep moving forward. As they proceeded, they noticed that many people had been brutally killed, their bodies infested with worms. One man found a pearl-studded necklace and was about to pick it up when a terrifying creature appeared in front of him. Without hesitation, the creature attacked and killed him instantly. Matthew and his companions had not yet realized the true horror of this place. Determined, Matthew led the remaining survivors toward the throne room, where Queen Ace resided. Ace possessed immense power and guarded the legendary sword of the god Zeus, the very weapon Matthew sought. As soon as they entered, Ace made her grand entrance. Furious at the intrusion, she demanded to know how they had entered her throne room without permission. Enraged, she prepared to attack Matthew. But before she could, Lena stepped forward, ready to challenge Ace in battle. Matthew had already instructed Ari and Feng to go and find Zeus's powerful sword while he and Lena held off Queen Ace. As the two of them set out, Queen Ace immediately used her powers to create a hole in the ground, trying to trap Lena inside. But Matthew, staying highly alert, quickly leaped in and saved her just in time. Meanwhile, Ari and Feng had found the sword, which was spinning mid-air. With great coordination, they managed to seize it. Just as Queen Ace was about to attack Matthew, Ari threw the sword to him. Now, whoever wielded the sword would become the most powerful. Matthew, with the sword in his grasp, defeated Queen Ace and quickly led the remaining survivors out of the forest, reaching the massive platform in time. However, their time was running out. One man failed to reach the platform in time and turned completely into stone, while the rest teleported back to the palace. Matthew was overjoyed, knowing that he now possessed Zeus's legendary sword. This meant that he was now on par with Sargon in terms of power. Coordinating with his allies, they all set out toward a safe place. Meanwhile, Queen Ace was shown reaching Sargon, informing him that Matthew had taken the sword. This meant that Matthew had now become the most powerful being. Furious, Queen Ace directly demanded that Sargon retrieve the sword at any cost. Here, it was revealed that the dark powers Sargon possessed had originally been granted to him by Queen Ace. Now, Sargon declared that he needed even more power to defeat Matthew. In response, Queen Ace transferred the last of her remaining strength into Sargon's body. These were the dark, formidable powers of the Black Scorpion. However, in return, Queen Ace demanded a sacrifice of 1,000 lives. Without hesitation, Sargon agreed, as he cared nothing for his people. His only desire was power and absolute control over his kingdom. Meanwhile, some time later, Matthew and his companions were seen returning to their homeland. They soon noticed that the villagers were all moving in a particular direction. Hiding in a corner with his allies, Matthew carefully observed the situation, trying to understand what was happening. Matthew calls over two children and asks them what is happening. They tell him that King Sargon has summoned everyone to his palace as per his orders, claiming that he wants to reward them all. However, Matthew finds this suspicious. Before he can ask more, soldiers arrive, forcing the children to leave. Sensing danger, Matthew immediately tells Ari to come with him so they can infiltrate Sargon's palace directly. Meanwhile, he instructs Lena and Feng to go with the villagers to the arena, where everyone is being gathered. Matthew and Ari take a secret back entrance to the palace. However, several of Sargon's guards block their path. But Matthew, wielding the powerful lightning sword of the gods, swiftly slashes through their weapons. The soldiers, shocked by his power, dare not stop him. Without further delay, Matthew and Ari proceed inside, determined to confront Sargon. Meanwhile, Lena and Feng arrive at the arena, where the villagers are seated. In the center of the battleground, strange contraptions have been set up, with large pots filled with oil. Lena senses something is wrong. Why would they need so much oil? A magician appears, attempting to distract and mislead the crowd. But as he moves forward, a soldier suddenly fires an arrow at one of the mechanisms. Instantly, the pots begin leaking oil, which starts spreading through the channels and splashing onto the gathered villagers. Panic spreads among the people as they try to flee, but before they can escape, soldiers shut all the doors. The horrifying truth becomes clear: Sargon's plan is to burn them all alive. Realizing the situation, Lena and Feng quickly act to save as many people as possible. Meanwhile, as Matthew moves deeper into the palace, he suddenly hears a voice. When the figure steps forward, he is shocked to see that it is none other than his father-in-law. His father-in-law reveals that he was resurrected because of the powerful sword. At first, Matthew cannot believe it, but as soon as Basu comes closer, he transforms into his true form, Sargon. Without wasting any time, Sargon immediately attacks Matthew and tries to snatch the sword from him. In the struggle, the sword slips from Matthew's grip and falls near Eri. After heavily injuring Matthew, it is revealed that Eri has handed the sword over to Sargon, revealing his true allegiance. Sargon smugly admits that he had sent Eri to accompany Matthew all along, intending for him to retrieve the sword and bring it back. Now that the sword is in his hands, Sargon becomes even more powerful. However, as soon as Sargon attempts to strike Matthew with the sword, it shatters into pieces. It turns out the sword was a fake. Eri then pulls out the real sword and hands it back to Matthew, telling Sargon that he values Matthew's friendship more than all the riches he was offered. Furious, Sargon unleashes his dark powers, surrounding himself in shadows before transforming into a giant, invisible scorpion. Taking advantage of his invisibility, he starts attacking Matthew from all directions, wounding him severely. Matthew, unable to see his enemy, loses sight of his sword. Meanwhile, back in the arena, Lena and Feng desperately help the villagers escape. However, soldiers above begin launching flaming arrows into the area. The spilled oil starts igniting, creating a deadly blaze that could consume everyone. Lena and Feng try to put out the flames with dirt, but saving so many people seems nearly impossible. Back in the palace, Matthew, despite his injuries, shows incredible bravery. He throws oil onto the giant scorpion, making Sargon visible once more. Now able to see his enemy, Matthew swiftly retrieves his sword. The scorpion, now even more enraged, lunges at him. But before it can strike, Matthew drives his sword straight into the monstrous creature's body, killing Sargon instantly. Sargon had underestimated Matthew, and that mistake cost him his life. Just then, someone makes an entrance. Queen Ace approaches Matthew and effortlessly takes back her sword. She simply says, "I'm letting you live for now, but soon, you will come to me on your own. I will be waiting for that moment." With those words, she vanishes into thin air. Matthew, gravely injured from his battle, collapses unconscious. Meanwhile, in the arena, Lena and Feng successfully extinguish the fire, saving all the trapped villagers. Together, they also manage to defeat Sargon's remaining soldiers. With their victory secured, the people are now free to live peacefully in the kingdom. The next day, a new ruler is appointed to govern the empire wisely and justly. While everyone wants Matthew to take the throne, he refuses. He has worked too hard to earn his title as a soldier, and he intends to remain one. A true soldier never stays in one place. Upon hearing this, Lena is disheartened. She had feelings for Matthew, but his journey is far from over. Saying his goodbyes, Matthew sets off on a new adventure, determined to hone his skills and grow stronger. Even though he no longer possesses the divine sword, he vows to train until he can defeat warriors as powerful as Sargon on his own. Matthew strides into the vast desert, ready for whatever lies ahead. And with that, our story comes to an end.